Hello.
Welcome to The Wolf and the Bear. Now, I've seen your face before from the Sophia Files, but
You have.
welcome to this podcast. I'm so
Why, thank
proud of
you.
you. I adore you. You're very, very gifted. I'd love it if you introduced yourself and a little bit of what you've been up to the last couple months.
So, the last few months, I met you, and it has been the change that I've so desperately wanted in my life that I didn't know that it was. I didn't know that was what I was looking for. So, my name is Ariel, and I have a business that will be coming soon called the Lunar Clair. And my hope is to meet people and help them through their life troubles the way that you've helped me, and to just continue being there for other people and being awesome.
I love that. And what is the name of your business?
It's called the Lunar Clair. And I drew the inspiration from Debussy's Clair de Lune. And it is a song that has meaning to me. And just recently listening to it again, I just feel like it's such a great composition between the human relationship and spirit. And listening to the rise and fall of the melodies, it's just a way of showing how spirit is there, always at the bottom, pushing us up and forward.
I love that. And I want to say one of the things I'm the most impressed with you and with your gift and what I'm so grateful for is you have a very, very clear communication with your guides. And I know a lot of people who really, they struggle with that. So I'm curious, what has that changed for you, that communication with them?
That communication has been just freeing and open, knowing that there is somebody else there with me. Especially, I like to get lost in my own thoughts, and they're just kind of there pulling me back, or um, really uplifting me when I get down and start spiraling.
No, I love that. And it sort of
Mhm,
does help as a stopgap because we're all capable of that spiral down.
mhm.
But one of my old friends, she said a long time ago, she said the best thing about spirals is that they go both directions.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, what drew you when you said, you didn't know that this was what you were looking for? And now in hindsight, what do you think you thought you were looking for in comparison to what you found through spirit? Because I'd love to take all that credit, but really it's your connection with spirit that's so beautiful, not necessarily what we've done together, although I wish I could take all that credit.
So, being on social media and everything and turning towards witch talk and do spells, it was something that, was interesting, but I could never really see myself doing it because it was like, what's way too much work. Seems like way too much devotion. You really don't know what you're signing up for when you're talking with these deities. And, I just really didn't feel it was like I was closer, but that wasn't really the route that I was wanting to go down. Um, and so working direct with spirit is just more, well, what do you want to do? What do you want? What are you looking to get out of it? And that's just been a whole lot less pressure for me because I feel that way I can be the most authentic with myself. And that's been a journey in its own. Um, but thinking with spells and such. It's like you really don't know what you're opening the door to. And if you do one thing incorrectly, it changes the recipe. So that was like way too much. And I just did not want that at all.
And just for curiosity's sake and for the viewers, what does your guide say about all of that?
That just pish posh, it's just you don't need it. It's what serves you, and serving other deities and everything else is not serving you.
And you were saying sort of the intermix of that song and it being sort of like, well, I'm curious, what we are doing, what essentially we've signed up to do by working with our guides, because we know that these gifts can't be used for ourselves, right? So it's almost a very service oriented thing. So I'm curious, did you always envision or did you even have an idea that you would be basically using this for other people, whereas spell work is usually used for our own benefit? What were your initial thoughts of that when you realized, oh my gosh, I can't really even use this to skip my own lessons?
Well, like you said, it's never for us. It's we help ourselves by helping others. And so to be able to help others in that way, because growing up, I was wanting to be a vet or I wanted to be a nurse, but then it was, I didn't really know if I wanted to have somebody's life in my hands
Mm.
because I don't feel like I could have dealt with the guilt if something went wrong. And knowing that, um, I just didn't really wanted, I didn't want that on my shoulders too much. Um,
But now how do you feel?
Now it's quote free advice, because it's like, you can take this information and do with it what you will.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just giving people that choice to do with that information that they will. So in our conversations, there's been a lot of, and I'll always remember the first time I attended the Dark Night of the Soul. And he just said, if anybody just has a bleeding heart, and that's just what I felt like for the longest time, was just a bleeding heart on the ground crying. But I don't feel like that anymore.
Oh my gosh, that's so beautiful. And that's a rule of thumb too. Like earlier, my boyfriend was asking me what the conversation was going to be with my first student earlier this morning. And I said, I don't know because it's sort of been a mixed bag, whether or not she's going to be okay and we're going to be able to talk about classes or whether the heart is really hurting. And so you never know. And you always just go, it's almost like you would never just leave a gaping wound while you start to work on like your leg muscle. It's like,
Hmm.
no, you got to go to the source of it.
Right.
Um, I've teased you a lot, especially in training, right? About sort of being the crying psychic. And so
Yes.
far, that's still held true. So tell
Hmm.
me, what are your thoughts about your emotionality and sort of that as a strength or a weakness?
For the longest time, I thought it was just a weakness. And I've been with my husband for 15 years now, and we've gone through a lot of things. And for me, whenever we would get into these, not arguments, but I'm just trying to pour my heart out and I'm just crying. And he's like, well, you make me feel bad when you're crying. I said, but I can't help it. Like, I don't know any other way to get it out other than crying. But it's really helped me see that it is a beautiful thing, because a lot of people can't cry. And I just imagine that as being like you're just hitting the nail with a hammer. And so instead of taking those emotions out, you're just like pounding them back into you.
Mm-hmm. And what do your guides say about the tears and the emotionality?
That they're just as natural as breathing. It's just an in and out thing.
Mm-hmm.
And to hold them in is not the way that it should be.
How do you think people, if that's not something that you've ever really done, what do you think you're going to probably see in clients, or what are you afraid to see in clients?
Afraid to see those who, and it's like a rejection thing. If you say, well, this is what I'm telling, like, this is what I'm seeing on you, like, I can see through your bleeding heart. And it's like, well, no, 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 that's not what it is at all. But it's like, well, that's what it actually is. Come talk to me in a couple weeks when you figure that out.
Mm-hmm. And so you're afraid basically that you're going to see correctly and they won't believe you?
Yes.
I just heard that sounds like a them problem.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
but I do understand that. But it's
Hmm.
funny because you didn't, what I love about your response is you didn't say me being wrong. And I love
No,
that.
and that's what I feel spirit has communicated with me a lot, is you'll never be wrong. You'll never be wrong, because we're not there to be, let me see. We're not there to be wrong. We are there to help provide the information to which they cannot see.
Yes.
The truths that they are not willing to accept.
And it's interesting because, the lunar realities is always about emotions and specifically hidden emotions.
Hmm.
Do you feel how long do you feel that you've been able to hide your own emotions from yourself? And then do you still feel like you do that at all?
A lot of what I was thinking, so I thought I had a lot of grief. I thought I had a lot of sadness, but really, like, it's turned into a lot of rage, a lot of anger underneath. And I still deal with it. Um, as I mentioned, my husband and I have been together, we've gone through some shit. And even just last night, I was thinking, like, oh my God, just do you not realize? And it's been a hard pill to swallow, but it's what we make of ourselves. It's what we make of our lives. And I like the iteration that you used before. You just have like a bottle and you just got to pour it up and drink it a little at a time. So
And what do you think the hardest part during our trainings were, if you can remember?
the hardest part was just believing in myself too, because it's one thing to have somebody tell you you're gifted, you're amazing, and all these things, and it's another to actually have that sink in and absorb and say, well, this is what I am in a positive way.
And how long do you think that process took you?
A few months, a few months really, because um, when you spend so long thinking one way, it's very hard to think another way. But it's something that I've been working on. It's something I know I will continue to work on until it'll just be like I'm the shit and that's it.
Well, right. And
Hmm.
do you think that you'll ever fully feel that way?
No,
I don't know.
because
Sometimes
that
I
is a
do,
human
sometimes I
nature.
don't, right?
Yeah.
Well, and especially if you have a client who's a particularly hard cookie. I mean, that's
Hmm.
always on some really essentially deep level, it starts to shake you.
Hmm.
But then we just go back to the guys.
Hmm.
What do you wish that people understood about your gift?
That I want. I'm not here to be your enemy, and I think that goes for a lot of other psychics or people that go to see psychics. And one, you're paying them to help you with your life issues. And if you don't want to take off the blindfold to your reality, that's not anything that anybody can help you with beside yourself. Because you can sit there and say, oh, you're so spot on, you're so spot on. But then to take that information and do nothing with it is not on anybody else but yourself. You're just, giving away your money to somebody.
Now, from an empathetic perspective, why do you think so many people do that? Why do they pay us and then not listen to us?
Cheaper than therapy.
You're not wrong.
Cheaper than therapy. They just want that quick. I think it's just that quick high of knowing that I'm not crazy. This is not all in my head. But then they don't do anything with it. They just go back to their phone and move on with their life until the next time that they have something catastrophic happen and go back and say, "Oh no, my life's in pieces. Help me."
Well, and in the situation where we are receiving people like that, how do we remain empathetic, knowing, for instance, like we can deliver an amazing message and knowing that they're not going to implement our advice? How do we benefit them then if we recognize that's in their energy? What's our next step with our work?
We just love them. It's just giving them a spiritual hug and saying, "I wish you all the best be on your way."
Yes, it's 100% that. 9 times out of 10, our job is really not to deliver the advice that's going to make them change their ways or change the
Hmm.
future, but it's so much about convincing them, sharing that spark of, I can do this, I have dominion, I
Hmm.
have control. That's sometimes what people come to us for, not necessarily the advice. And sometimes that's really frustrating, but it's kind of like the whole Cassandra of Troy thing. Nobody believed her and it still was the way it was. So how do you think you're going to guard yourself against being jaded or becoming frustrated? at this work if we know that this is a part of it.
I like the phrase that has been used before, just let it be water off the duck's back.
Mhm.
Just say your piece to give them peace, and just let it go. So, because you're not going to be texting them, hey, did you listen to what I told
God.
you? No. Hey, how's that advice going? No.
Well,
That's all we can do.
also too, you've had several readings. You know, I don't know if you've noticed this, but can you really recall what you said to them?
No.
I don't either. We don't. We don't keep those messages because they're not for us. So
Hmm.
very frequently, you'll be able to spend an hour with somebody and then never again remember anything you spoke about because you're just sitting there acting and functioning as a channel for your guides or for their guides.
But as having been read, or having sitting through the readings, especially with you, it's not always immediate action. So, but it is planting in the brain for later
Yes.
to say, oh, this I see, like, oh, it all makes sense now. So while it may not always be for that moment in time, it will come to a point that it will be useful information. And I think it's just that uplifting. It'll be that uplift that you need.
Mm-hmm. I remember this the first medium I ever spoke to was a guy named Marcel Cairo. Shouts to him. He's awesome. And I did that thing that you do when you're first brush with that maybe spirit's real and maybe this is all real, is I kind of kept hitting him up wanting to do more reading. And I remember him saying, you know, I'm just a tugboat to get you off of the shore, but I'm not, you know, you have to be able to do this. And so I'm curious, what do you think that means for our role? Because he was not also, he's an interesting individual because he doesn't believe that he's a psychic. He just
Mm-hmm.
believes he's a medium. And what would you say to
Mm-hmm.
that?
Well, he's a really good tugboat, the little tugboat that could. And it's just about getting people um, out of the beliefs of others and getting them to believe in themselves for sure.
Mm.
Because, I know that there have been times where we're talking and I don't know. I don't zone out, but it's almost like you zone out and you're not speaking to me, you're speaking within me. And I think that happens to a lot of people too. And you leave your reading and you're like, what the hell did I just sit there an hour for? Not in that way, but
Right.
like what was the message?
Intuitively, what do you think that your best, I guess, when we say like stay in our lanes, I know my lane is for people who can deal with the message a little bit harsher than some people give it. What do you think your lane will be if you had to guess?
It would just to be the shoulder, to be the presence that a lot of people don't have. And I have a very warm presence. And notice I say I think I have a warm presence. I know I have a very warm presence, and people just I enjoy being around you. I would never tell anybody this, but I'm going to tell you. Um, I saw this thing and it was funny. It said TMI, not tell me, or not too much information. Tell me immediately, because that's what I appreciate. Also, is just let's get past the brush and just get to what's bothering you.
I love that. How do you feel that based on some of the limit we've practiced a lot, we practiced a little bit. Um, how do you plan to cleave that energy to get that energy out of the way?
Which one?
Well, whenever somebody's kind of like, for instance, an example would be somebody who says, "Oh, I'll just let you tell me," which is usually a pretty closed opening for people.
Mm-hmm. Um, it almost feels like, okay, well, if you want me to tell you, then I'll tell you, and it won't be. I think it would hurt. Like, it'll be the most hurtful things. Respect, like, in the nice way. Like, it'll be the things that are hurting you the most.
Yes, yes. And to anybody who's listening also, that is truly, that's giving us carte blanche to go to the source, and not everybody's a big fan of that. So they don't know that what they're inviting by having no opinion and not giving a starting point. Our guides will then go into, immediately it'll be like, well, how's your relationship with your mom? Why is that still reverberating in your energy now? Why is this pattern still present? And suddenly they're like, I would just like a weather reading. I wasn't wanting this.
Yeah. Well, then you should have said that.
Well, right. And so, but sometimes people don't know what they don't want.
Mm-hmm.
So, we have a lot of responsibility with what we do because we have to be there to be the tugboat, not the cleaver, not the one that breaks somebody. And so that is always a huge reason why we lean into spirit, because spirit won't deliver messages in a way that will break somebody. I'm curious, out of your guide system, and we've recently done a lot of work with them in classes, who do you feel will be kind of at your right hand through most of this work?
He is more of a protector in the way of I'll go where you want to go and I'll keep us safe.
Mm-hmm.
And so, my main guide, I think he's there recording, he's there writing down. Do you know in Mulan you have that the little scribe who's there
Yes.
writing? So that's what he'll be doing. It's just writing.
Whenever you sense people's problems now with this new light, what do you notice about them compared to when you used to view people from before?
That there's no problem that's not fixable.
Oh, I love
It
that.
is. There's no problem that is not fixable. It is just giving them the words, giving them the voice that they need to hear in order to get out of their own head and tug them away from the rocky shore into the open ocean.
And what has your family or friends thought about all this, if you've shared it?
Well, no, not really. I haven't really shared it with my family. That's been a lot of back and forth, but because my parents weren't spiritual growing up. We were Jehovah Witnesses, and we kind
I
of
did not know
fell
that.
out of. We fell out of that, and so I've always had the belief of something, but just wasn't sure what, and didn't really know where to go to find it. Friends, I've kind of talked to a couple of friends about it, but I will say, like, one of the things that I'm kind of curious about is sitting with a new light, a new perspective, is like listening to their issues and um, being able to pass along helpful information to them in a way that isn't like from me. It comes from spirit with love.
Where do you find yourself frustrated with spirit? Because we all are at some point.
Not really frustrated. Okay, so I don't know about frustrated. It's kind of more comical, but it's like I can't help you with everything. It's like you do have to still figure out stuff. You do have to have thoughts of your own still.
Ugh, that is
And it's
hard
like, but
sometimes.
please.
Yeah, but just tell me what to think and feel. Dang it.
Right. You know what? I'll back you up with whatever you come up with. Let me know.
I love that. Well, and also that's the burden of free will, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, just for sort of a segue, you had mentioned at one point that you feel you have, if you could describe to me some of your energies around the spirit animals within that sort of kingdom.
Spirit animals. Um,
That
I
you
have a
have.
little black. Oh, that I have. Well, in real life, I have a little black kitty. She's so cute. Um, but she's just so crazy in the way that she behaves and such. But it wasn't until recently here that I noticed that she is protective, she is guarding, and I have a box and she'll go sit on it and stare in the mirror, and I always ask her, what are the spirits saying? And she'll say, well, clean your windows, clean your mirrors. Mm-hmm. And I think we just look at each other sometime with this knowing for like a split second, and then she runs off to go do whatever she's going to do. I've been feeding the birds and the squirrels outside of my window, so we sit there and watch them all day. Um, there are okay, so it's like so interesting. There are two particular type of doves that will come, and I feel like they really come on specific like spirit heavy days. So like
Interesting.
whenever I had my first reading, I noticed that they were outside the window, and so I don't know if you heard that cat.
I did. And what's funny is right as we started talking about these energies, my Sebastian just curled up in my lap. I love spirit.
She come here. Hold on. Oof. This is her.
Hi.
I don't have to go do stuff.
She said, I'm not for the spotlight.
No. So, all right. So let me see. Now that was it about animals.
Now, what about your spirit guides? Because I remember you mentioned the black dragon.
Mm-hmm.
Do you still feel that energy around you?
It feels like a hidden energy. We'll probably have to go into it more like in class. Um, I don't know. I don't know that they really like to talk
That's okay.
out loud either.
But you do feel it around you.
Mm-hmm.
And then, do you ever feel spirit animals around other people?
I would have to say yes. Thinking to it now. Some people, I look at them and then I see an animal.
Mm-hmm.
So thinking more about like baristas and such. Sometimes they have cute little animals running around them, and
What do you see most often?
cute and cuddly.
I love that.
For sure. I think a lot of people just. I feel like we're coming into a generation where people are going to have more soft energies, and the ones that have the bigger energies are going to be more hidden. They're not going to be out in public as much.
Why is that?
I'm being told that they need to hunker down, that they need to like bunker in. Um, and the smaller, lighter energies are just what we need to see right now.
Mm-hmm.
It's like it's too heavy. Everything else is too heavy. So here's some cute ones.
Well, also, we realize too, a lot of people in today's day and age are really struggling to see and find their softness because the
Mm-hmm.
world is requiring everyone to be so hard.
Mm-hmm.
So, if we go into a period of time, say in the next 200 years, where softness is more available, what then will happen to the spirit animals we start to see?
They'll start mutating apart from what we recognize as like normal animals. They'll be more fantasy driven
And why is that, do you think?
because it'll be safer for them to come out, is what I heard.
Excellent.
But it's more like ripping off the band-aid, or like opening a new book to allow those new energies to come back.
I love that. And so, based on this, what would you say about these lost energies like unicorns, griffins, dragons, things that, we sound sort of crazy for even arguing that they were at one point real?
I feel like they were driven back. It's almost like they were given at one point, or like if we coexisted at one point, and then they were driven back by fear, not because of the fear of people, but more like the fear of what we had to realize what we were capable of.
In the darkness or in the light?
in the darkness.
Mm. Do you
So
do you feel that we're moving towards a better frequency? Or I'm sure you've heard all this 5D ascension, all that. What's your take on that stuff?
we're at a pivotal point right now, and people need to get on the ship or get off, is what I heard. So
And so
if even if you're quite questioning it, just get on. If you really know that it's not for you, it's not in your timeline, then you can stay off.
well, speaking of timelines, I love that you brought that up. I want to dive into, we've had discussions about these dreams you've had. So I'd love to dive into that a little bit with your guides while we're just here chatting. Why do you think you are being called to these dreams where there's a different timeline playing out? I know I've asked you on the other podcast, but I want to know now.
Mm-hmm. 1 second. My thing froze up. Can you still hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, there we go. Okay. Um, I feel like I'm being led more to those dreamscapes because I feel like I'm at a point where I can handle it now. I don't know that I was really somewhere before that I could look at it and say, well, this is crazy. Um, it's just
What is
normal
your purpose there? Or do you even have one?
to observe. I almost get the sense of forgot to be scratched off, like a responsibility that forgot, how do I say it? That's interesting too. Um, almost like somebody else, if you go through their final checklist, but then somebody scribbles it on at the last minute before you go, before it gets sent out.
Interesting. So what experience are you trying to scratch off of your bingo card, so to speak?
Oh, what is it? I don't know. I just get the you want to do it, like you want to do it all. You want to see it all, observe it all. So
And what is your distinction between real or not real or present or not present? Why is then here and now, as we talk in this world, this reality, would you say that this is more real than the other or less real? Like, how do we really differentiate when we speak about dimensional dreaming almost?
anything that is too outside of the normal as we know it would be in the dreamscape. And it's almost like coming back to here is, you're at a safe spot
Mm.
because anything can happen in the dream world if you allow it, which is bizarre because half the shit that I dream up, I'm like, why would I want to allow this? Um, but it's just going to take working on and coming into that gnosis of I can control the dreams.
And have you had any luck with that lucidity? Or do you even want it?
I feel like I've had a little luck. I did have a dream where again, it was another one of those I can't save them, but instead of feeling the guilt that came with it, I just made the decision to walk away.
Oh, interesting.
Hmm.
So you're combating guilt and you're overcoming it in the dreamscape,
Hmm.
but you're
Hmm.
not actually changing the outcome.
Right,
Interesting.
because we can't really change the outcomes. We can't, especially when it comes to others. We can't control their will because that is what leads to resentment within people. Um, but if as long as we are able to control ourselves and recognize that we do have control over ourselves and ourselves alone, um, we can change our own outcomes, and that should be what we push towards rather than focusing on the bigger picture. We just focus on the portrait, is what they said.
Well, sometimes when we are in dreamscapes too, we're connecting with energies. So I'm curious, what would it mean to you if I said, uh, well, what is your take on sort of spiritual grid work?
Um, it feels like a homing system, and trying to get everybody to where they belong.
And is
Trying to get everybody to where they belong.
and when you say everybody to where they belong, are you speaking about like a location, or are you speaking about frequency?
It would be frequency, because every people go through situations which can lower their frequency, and it's just every experience would be like like candle dipping, with candle dipping.
Yeah.
And every experience is just another layer onto you. And when you go through enough bad experiences, it can lead to a funky looking candle. um okay, so they're showing me like burning, like, so you have that candle and you're burning it. Oh, okay. So those candles where they have like the little prize in the middle.
Yes.
So you have to like burn your candle to get to the prize in the middle. And some candles will have the thicker, darker layers
Mm.
before you can get to the middle. Oh, okay. So also it depends on your flame also. So if your flame as your life force pretty much, and the lower that you are in the frequency, the slower that your candle's going to burn.
Mm.
And once we allow ourselves to um, do what makes us happy and do what we want, is when we can raise that flame to get down to where the prize is.
And what is the prize?
The prize of knowing your soul inside and out, backward
Yes.
and forward.
The self.
Knowing thyself.
The self that everybody wants to go find and wants to return to, but they don't know how.
hmm
So if the self is inside of the candle, then what does the candle layers, what do those represent?
They would It would be just your experiences. So every right choice that you've made, every wrong choice that you've made, every time that you're told that you can't do something, or every time that you're being inauthentic to yourself. Okay, so I was thinking more of like a positive, but it seems to be more of like a negative, what we perceive as negative. Um,
What's anything that's not you?
Anything that's not you. Yeah.
Now you have 2 kids, and with
hmm
this insight that's, way easier said than done. "Oh, just go and burn away all the things that aren't you." And you're like, "Well, I right now currently think they are all me." So, how do you it requires discernment and a willingness to let go through
hmm
exploration. So, what would you say now to your kiddos as they sort of embrace trying to be little baby adults soon?
Yeah, that especially, I have a teenager now, and she's going through a lot, and my son is in middle school now, and it's been such a change seeing him go from how he was before to now you're in a group of people, like a vast group of people. And something that we've always tried to instill in them is, if you like what you like, please do not let anybody else influence or tell you that what you like is dumb or stupid. Yesterday we went to the tree lighting, and my daughter had this big furry hat that she found at Daiso that like went around her chin. And I told her that just what I've always admired about you is that your sense of style is so unique to you. You really don't care how other people perceive you as far as what you're wearing. Um, but it's just that repetition of, you hope that at the end of the day they're able to go to bed and know how much their parents love them or how much they care about them. And even in those dark times where they don't like themselves, or you have peer and my son deals with this a lot too. He has kids who will try to pick on him, and I've always told them that when they're at home, they don't always have parents who love and care about them, and they're just taking it out on you, unfortunately. Um, but we just need to be kind to others, show them the kindness that they may not get at home.
And how do they receive that?
I don't know. Almost that whatever.
Whatever, mom. Yeah.
Whatever, mom. You're not there. You're not there in
You
class
don't
with me
get it.
going through everything. Yeah.
Recently you said that you've been very much an active part in the Sophia Files, another podcast that we've been doing. And you said that your daughter wanted to listen and know what you were talking about. Did
Hmm.
you ever fulfill that for her?
I did.
What did she
Whether
think?
I don't know. Well, she's so funny. She was like, I just skipped to the part where you were talking. I just wanted to hear you talk, and it's almost like I love you so much,
Yes.
And um, I've always called them my little broke besties, and just letting them know that no matter what happens in life, that I will always be there for them, and so you'll never tell me anything or do anything that will change how I feel about you. We chose each other in this life, and um, just always wanting to be that safe spot for them.
Mm.
Whenever we had first got together, like me and you first got together, started talking, I was always just questioning like my own parental ability, just wondering, am I doing right by them? Am I telling them? Am I loving them enough? And the answer has always been yes, because there are so many kids who don't have that, and like it really is just so sad to see. And I think going through my own childhood and stuff, and really just looking back, I don't know. Um, I knew that I never wanted them to have the childhood that I had. I always wanted to. Let's cut this out.
Yeah. No, you're fine. I
uh,
understand that though, and I think like for us, we don't have stability in our past in some ways. Like we don't have an effervescence of love. And in a lot of ways that's what has honed our ability. So there is a way to claim that with a lot of honor and a lot of respect. Because yeah, we weren't given certain things that if I have kids and you have had kids that you've given them that I will plan to give mine, there is no shame on what's gone before necessarily, because look what it's made us. Pretty unique and
mhm,
strong. And on top of that, like you just said, we also chose them. So as you sort of look at yourself now, where you stand and sort of the solidity, the foundation that feels more solid than ever before, what would you run back and tell like your 7-year-old self? I would just be like, hold on, girl, it's gonna be all right.
yeah, that's it. Just don't worry, it gets better. And you see those videos too. Just it gets better. Like it does get better. And it's hard to see it when you are going through that difficult time of things won't get better. I'm better off not being here. It's like, well, that's not true at all. Like, please just stay. Today is one day, tomorrow is another day. Um, and that's what, I tell my kids too. They have bad days sometimes, but I said, you're human. You're 11 and 13 years old. So tomorrow is a brand new day.
You ain't even
And
paying taxes yet. What are you crying about? No, I'm just kidding.
right.
I'm just kidding.
I'm not.
They're like, Sterling, please don't ever have kids. No. But no, I mean, like, the reality is we're goofballs. Like we're emotional, crying, rageful, loving, excitable. Like we're goofballs. And the sooner that we can allow ourselves to fulfill that prophecy of being a goofball who's trying their best, it takes a lot off of our shoulders.
Hmm.
Because how many
It really
answers
does.
are we supposed to really have for ourselves? We're both relatively young.
Hmm.
If we think that we've got it figured out, we've got another quite a few decades left for us to learn more things. So how
And
would
that's what I wish people would realize too, is that like life in the grand scape of things, this existence like really is just so short to be taken seriously. Like, yes, you do have to pay your bills, pay your taxes, all of the things that come with this life, but there's so much room for freedom of creativity, for whimsy, and that's why it's out there. And thinking back to people who have I have this aunt and she's just so far out there, and it's like, well, she's probably living her best life, meanwhile you're over here crying about something dumb.
Well, right. It's if you ever thought that, you know, 10 months ago, a year ago, that you would be discussing the things that you've been discussing, like like things that we've viscerally experienced together. You would think you were crazy. And I can feel almost on some level you would think that if you saw yourself talking about it, you'd be like, she's making this up. Like you wouldn't trust it.
That's when you're that's what they say. They say, well, maybe you are crazy, but like in a playful way,
We're
like
all a
what
little
is it,
crazy.
what does it matter in the end? Because this is how we're choosing to live our here and now. And to anybody else who looks down on it or has anything negative to say, well, it's like, okay, we'll go have fun with a stick in your ass. So,
Well, right. I mean, I remember during when I started this podcast with Terry, the first episode or second episode was such a really strong and really powerful refresher because she's so unbothered by anybody believing her. She's so unbothered by she's like, I'm too busy and too tired to prove to you that I'm being real. And I needed that because for some reason I was still chasing the validation of people who maybe wouldn't understand. And I think
they showed me the rainbow fish.
what's that?
That story. They said they showed me that story, the rainbow fish.
Oh, show me
Um,
or share it with me.
so okay, well, that's not exactly helpful because, like in the rainbow fish, he is like, just imagine like the gray dull fish, but then he's like a super rainbow fish with all these scales, and everybody thinks he's special because he has these scales. And then he said, "Well, I want to be pretty. I want to be nice and pretty like you." So then he gives his scales away, and
Oh.
then until he has none left, and everybody has some. And then, if I'm not mistaken, I believe the end of the story is that everybody else realizes how having that piece doesn't make them special. It just makes them like everybody else.
Mm.
And at the end, they end up giving the shells back to the original fish, and he has them. And so they realize that it's not what other people give you that make you unique. It's what you have within yourself that makes you unique.
What do you think is the hardest battle that humanity fights when it comes to seeing their uniqueness?
Just competitive competition.
Mm.
Um, and in my own experience, just having friends and family, just I look at what everybody else has and I want that. And realizing that they are capable of going out and getting that. Um, but a lot of what's shared on social media is just so inauthentic and so scripted, and they're better off not sharing anything at all. And I mean, I feel like even those who share, um, this is me rotting in bed with like a full face of makeup on and yeah, made up room. It's like, well, you're not really living true to yourself either. But people lose sight of that and that who they really are in order to please others, appease.
What would you say the biggest consequence to that behavior is on a soul level?
Um, in the picture, like your soul would just be like in the bottom corner,
Mm.
just in the bottom corner, and then everything else that fills up that space is that's not you. And it should be the opposite, where we should hold our soul like in the middle and then just have the layers around it
Mm.
of that which make you happy.
Well, what would be your advice to helping somebody who's listening to begin that process of burning away the wax or getting to that, making the center of your energy soul bearing, soul loaded?
mm, it would be to write down everything that you are or everything that you want to be, and then you have your other list of everything that you currently are that you don't want to be, or this isn't true with me, this doesn't sit well with me. It's also just having your own opinion. So many of
Mm.
us, not okay, collective us,
Yes.
so many of us care about what how will this perceive me? How will this make me be perceived? What will others think of me after this point?
Mm.
And it's like, well, what does it matter? Why should you care so much about what other people think? Just do what you want and do what makes you happy.
Why is that so hard for people, you think? Because we know it is. I've been guilty of it. I'm sure you like. We really struggle with that.
It's easier to put the mask on than it is to look in the mirror as it is, as we currently are.
Dang.
Because with the mask, we can, if you have your blank mask and you add things to it, you make it however you want to.
One could argue that we're really facing, because of the way our or the generation above us was, and maybe even before that, there has been a lot of like almost narcissism.
Mm-hmm.
Like the even though it's a whole different thing to be fully diagnosed as a narcissist, but we recognize that those tendencies are continuing to spread a little bit throughout the collective. What do you
Mm-hmm.
think the response to that will be over time? Because every pendulum swings, and right now we're swinging a little bit narcissistic, a little bit dog eat dog world. What do you think is the future for us?
It'll take some time for it to swing the other way. Um, but if there's a chain that's holding the pendulum this way, it will eventually erode, is what I heard. It'll eventually erode away, and it'll have no choice but to swing the other way. And what will cause that corrosion is when we choose ourselves over others, when we work on ourselves, when we heal ourselves. That will be what eventually erodes it away. Oh, so okay, that's nice. Think of every time that you choose yourself, every time you put your needs above somebody else, you have like a little Windex bottle and you're spraying
I
it.
love that. And
Mm-hmm.
soon you'll be able to see yourself through that
Mm-hmm.
the fog. I was watching something the other day. I think I reposted it in the group, but it was Brene Brown, and she does a lot on vulnerability and authenticity. And it was weird because I know that message left, right, and center, and yet it really hit me again when she was saying to be brave and to be courageous, you, they're synonymous, and in a, like you cannot untangle it from radical vulnerability, because that's what it means to be brave, is that you are taking risks with no guarantee.
Mm-hmm.
And so people that do our work, we kind of become a pseudo guarantee for some people. So what would you say to somebody who maybe would be trying to achieve their outcome, but maybe they're not brave enough? They need to call you every 5 seconds, or they need you to tell them it's going to be okay. How do we coach people away from that? Given the fact that we do make money, it's a job, but I would say I'm not interested in taking your money at the risk of you being unsuccessful. So how do we keep people in that correct vibration?
It would just be instilling in them for so long. Like, you do have this, you got this. Like, I cannot tell you any differently. Like, you really just need to go. Oh, so they said, like, have an opposite day. If you are in your routine and you would do one thing, do the opposite, or like do another thing,
I
and
love it.
don't. It doesn't have to be like an all day thing. If you order a coffee one way, order it a different way. Um, and I think that would be what helps people kind of um, drive their courageousness, or like their belief that they can do different, and just have to start small, because it's easier to start small than it is to make big life changes.
And to just shuffle the frequency a little bit
Yeah.
without it
Mm-hmm.
having to be like, no, you got to go deal with your mom issues. I'm like, I'd rather not. Let me just order my coffee different. we'll,
Mm-hmm.
we'll start there. Um, I don't know why but this is just a fun question. If you could find or pinpoint a lifetime that you find particularly fun, or that your guides want to show you or bring you to, what would that be?
They said Orpheus in the underworld, whatever that means.
Oh my God, what does that mean?
I don't know that it doesn't. I don't. Let me see. Uh, I don't know if they said in a sea of red be a blue. I don't know. Just to cause chaos, but like in a fun way. So I probably have done that a lot, going against societal norms.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
And here we are doing it again.
Hell yeah. But it's just, I don't know, it's more fun that way. It is a lot more fun because it's like, well, I don't care. I don't care what people think. And that's what's been, I think, like the biggest thing for me too is releasing what other people think, trying to hold others, gauge their reactions, try
Mm-hmm.
to hold space for them. But it's like, okay, well, what about me? Who's holding space for me? Nobody
And
except me.
well, and you stop needing them as like you don't need them as a mirror anymore. You can just let them be who they are.
Hmm.
There's a lot of freedom in that too.
Yeah, because now I have time to do other stuff and have other thoughts, I guess, than to worry about what's going on, like what's going on behind the scenes.
Well, it has to feel just a little bit lighter.
Yeah,
Hell
I find
yeah.
myself like laughing more,
Yes.
like joking around more, and it's, I don't know,
I just heard the Dark Knight. Why so serious, Dollface?
why so, yeah, yeah. Like I said, life really is too short to be so stoic all the time.
And it's interesting. I feel that you would handle conflict even differently now than before.
Yes. A not what is that? Not resounding, but it's also not quiet. But I feel more confident now because when my husband gets to having an attitude, I'm like, okay, well, just go have your fit, and then I'll talk to you when you're done.
Right. And we'll be right as rain.
Yep. And same with the kids. It's like, all right, well, you're just having a bad day, so I will see you in a little bit.
Yes. Well, I've had to deal with that too a little bit where I get really caught up in trying to control an outcome
Hmm.
between me and my significant other. And it's been hard, but it's the work that we always have to do of that reminder of like, you cannot give them this much power. They're upset and I'm sure it's fine and you can go have a good day and this will blow over, but it's not about you. So it doesn't mean, it means you don't have a role in fixing it.
Hmm.
And as
Because when we do try to like hold that space for them, it's like, okay, well, just give me all of your feelings, and it's like, well, it's not about you.
Yes.
It's not about you. So,
Ugh.
and now you're going to be mad at me because I'm telling you it's not about you, and just how that can be perceived. Because at first it was hurtful, but now it's like, okay, well, I'm glad it's not about me. So,
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I didn't even think, yeah, everything's less sensitive
hmm,
because you're kind of just like, ooh, this is your day, huh?
yeah,
We woke up a little spicy.
right,
But then again, too, it means that we can also have our spicy days and not
hmm,
have it bleed into other people or rather onto their plate, so to speak. I can just say,
hmm,
I'm having a really emotional day. Fuck with me if you want.
yeah,
Like, I'll at least be honest and authentic, but I've had to share that a couple times where like, I'm very intense.
hmm,
You knew that. I'm trying to work on it, but this is where we're at today.
hmm,
And that's power too. It's
hmm,
self-acceptance.
of self,
Yeah.
acceptance of self.
And so as a parting note, what are you the most excited about when it comes to your role in this pivotal time?
They showed me like a shepherd's crook, and just being able to help lead others. I've been thinking about the pillars of thyself, and one of my pillars is I am a leader.
Mhm.
And while currently it's hard to accept that, like I know that at the core, like that is who I am, is a leader. And so
And
I'm
you
just
have
gonna
been
take my
for
little
several lifetimes.
so I'm gonna take my shepherd's crook, add some little cute pink bows on it, and get on the wagon.
Well, also too, they're kind of continuing to remind me. I don't know why, but they keep saying you to both of us. You're so young.
And that's crazy too, because I've mentioned that before. Also, I'm like, I just feel so like young because you look at a lot of the, we'll say, seasoned psychics, and like they're older, and it's like, well, I think that creates a lot of self doubt too. Is one, I haven't been quote practicing for a long time, but I know that you do have to just get in the water and go with it. And those, I don't know. There's a lot of misinformation out there also. There's a lot of misinformation out there, and it's just finding what speaks true to you. I think is like the most important thing for sure.
Well, and we definitely, for as much as we have responsibility in the searing perspective, SER, there's also we have some truth saying in our background. And I think that's why we enjoy the other podcasts so much, because we're able to kind of look at things and say, all right, what's the truth harmonic here? And recognize that there's a limited amount of people we can have that conversation with.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's almost like we're getting to scratch that itch a little bit, which I love.
It's always fun.
Because I just heard the not everyone, like, you can't handle the truth. Like, not everyone's really game to have that conversation. And that's not, we're having it because we love that.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm excited to see where we keep going. And it's going to be awesome.
Mm-hmm.
It can't be anything but.
Exactly. It is what we make it, and we're gonna make it awesome.
I love that. And I love you. Thank you so much for joining me, Ariel.
Of
Where can we find
course.
you at?
I am on Facebook at the Lunar Clair, and that's all I have for right now.
I love it. All right. Thank you so much. And I can't wait to talk to you tomorrow for our
Yes, ma'am.
class and then for our how do you say, our
Podcast.
podcast. So
Mm-hmm.
I love you, and I'll see you
Love
soon.
you too. Thank you for having me.
Of course.
Bye.